have to admit, this one has me scratching my head. Ireland is all about spectacular coastlines, charming villages, enchanting castles. Did you know they have 30,000 of those? And not to mention the many cozy pubs where you can enjoy a sip of Guinness. But the vast majority of Ireland's west coast is, well, empty. What's going on? Let's get on a mission to uncover the secrets of Ireland's sparsely populated western shores. Can you believe it? You've got this gorgeous island, about 7.2 million people living there, split between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. The Republic of Ireland, whose capital is Dublin, is an independent republic that's part of the European Union. And Northern Ireland, whose capital is Belfast, is part of the United Kingdom, alongside England, Scotland, and Wales. But even though they're politically separated, they've got this weird similarity going on when it comes to where people live. Most people are located along the east coast, in bustling cities and towns. But then when you take a look at the central and western parts of the island, it's like a whole different story. There are way fewer people there. And I'm not just talking a little bit less. I'm talking like, where did everybody go? Ireland, also nicknamed the Emerald Isle, is an island hugged by the wild Atlantic Ocean on one side and the Irish Sea on the other. It's a land of rolling green hills, dramatic cliffs, and the west coast, which is practically deserted. There are not one or two factors behind this, but there are many. People have been calling this island home for ages. Like, we're talking way back, around 33,000 years ago. But the journey really began around 9,000 years ago, when people settled in, probably coming over from Scotland or embarking on daring voyages across the sea. These early settlers were all about the hunter-gatherer life, doing their thing during the Mesolithic period. But then the Neolithic period rolls in, and suddenly Ireland has agriculture, big stone monuments like Newgrange are popping up, and society starts getting all structured. Fast forward a bit, and the Bronze and Iron Ages strut onto the scene, bringing with them the Celts. These people were a big deal, introducing their language, social systems, and probably some killer recipes for soda bread. They set up shops, organized into tribes and kingdoms, and left their mark all over the place. Christianity also entered around the 4th century, thanks to cool cats like St. Patrick. Suddenly, monasteries are popping up left and right, becoming hotspots of learning and culture, not just in Ireland, but all across Europe. Legend has it that St. Patrick is the reason there are no snakes in Ireland because he chased them off the island. However, a more grounded explanation for this is that after the Ice Age, the land bridge connecting Ireland to Europe was submerged before the snakes could slither their way onto the Emerald Isle. Then come the Vikings, raiding and pillaging their way into Irish history. Sure, they started off as troublemakers, but eventually they settled down, traded, and even started marrying into the local scene. You gotta admit, they brought some serious drama to the coastal towns like Dublin and Waterford. The Normans arrived in 1169. They built castles and fortified towns and basically made themselves at home. Despite their English roots, they ended up going full Irish in some respects, blending in with the locals like they'd been there all along. And then, just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, along comes the Great Famine in the 1840s. A potato blight kicks off a disaster of epic proportions, leading to the deaths of around 1 million Irish and the mass exodus of another 1 million. It was like the island took a gut punch, and it's still feeling the effects today. That's one of the biggest reasons there are fewer people hanging out on the West Coast. Between invasions, famines, and all-around chaos, it's incredible anyone stuck around at all. However, geography plays a more critical role than history. Ireland sits nestled in the northwest corner of Europe, just a stone's throw, or a ferry ride, from its biggest brother, Great Britain. Spanning roughly 300 miles north to south and 170 miles east to west, Ireland boasts a total area of around 32,600 square miles. That makes it a little bigger than the state of Indiana for all you American geography buffs out there. The island itself isn't exactly flat. It's kind of what the central lowlands resemble. Lush and fertile, this central plain is ringed by a series of mountains, most notably the Wicklow Mountains to the southeast, the Derryveigh Mountains in the northwest, and the dramatic McGillicuddy's Reeks in County Kerry. which hold the title of Ireland's highest peak at a respectable 3,404 feet. Now let's shift our focus to the western side of the island. The west coast of Ireland is battered by the often turbulent waters of the North Atlantic Ocean, which means strong winds and plenty of rain. Here, the scenery takes center stage with towering cliffs like the iconic Cliffs of Moher, which plunge 702 feet into the churning sea. It's a breathtaking sight, but not exactly the most inviting place to set up a farm. Now, about that climate. Ireland rocks an oceanic vibe, meaning it's not too hot, not too cold, with just the right amount of rain to keep things nice and green. Shout out to the North Atlantic Drift for bringing these warm waters to Ireland's shores, keeping things cozy. But the West Coast, as I told you earlier, gets the lion's share of rainfall thanks to those relentless westerly winds. Meanwhile, the East Coast gets a bit of a reprieve, staying a little bit drier and toastier, all thanks to those central mountains playing the role of rain blockers. While geography and historical events undoubtedly play a significant role in shaping Ireland's population distribution, there are other contributing factors to consider as well. First off, let's rewind to the days of English colonization, which kicked off big time in the 11th century. As you can imagine, the eastern part of Ireland, being closer to England, was the first to get colonial treatment. Dublin, sitting pretty on the east coast, became the heart of English power in Ireland, drawing in settlers, merchants, and all sorts of people looking for opportunity. Why the east coast, you ask? Well, being closer to England meant more accessible access to trade, communication, and let's not forget, military backup. Ports like Dublin, Cork, and Belfast became bustling hubs, not just for trade with England, but with the whole world. And historically, government investment and infrastructure development have been concentrated in the east. It includes transportation networks like major roads and railways, which connect cities and facilitate trade. The lack of robust infrastructure in the West makes it challenging to establish and sustain businesses, further limiting population growth. Moreover, the West Coast, with its abundant fish stocks and sheltered bays, has always supported a vibrant fishing industry. However, this industry tends to be characterized by smaller communities compared to the large-scale agriculture that thrives in the East. While fishing villages add to the cultural richness of the West, they don't typically generate the same level of population density. In recent decades, tourism has also become a significant economic driver for the West Coast. The dramatic landscapes, unique culture, and historical sites attract visitors worldwide. It's home to the longest coastal driving route in the world, the Wild Atlantic Way, stretching 1,553 miles. However, tourism tends to be seasonal, with peak activity during the summer months. It means the population can fluctuate significantly throughout the year, with a dip during the off-season. Is there a possibility of Ireland becoming one big happy family again? You know, reunification? It's been on the table for a while, but with Brexit throwing a wrench into things, it's back in the spotlight. So here's the deal. The Good Friday Agreement is a total game changer, saying if most people in Northern Ireland are up for it, let's give it a shot.